Hello, and welcome to the newest episode of Anne's Garden. As you can see, summer's in full swing now, and the garden flocks are making quite a statement. Today we're going to talk about traveling to other gardens. It's a chance for relaxation, for fun, and for inspiration. Let's get started. Let's begin our garden visits with places close to home, starting with Vanderveer Botanical Park, located between Brady and Harrison Streets in central Davenport. Vanderveer has a lovely conservatory with seasonal displays. Here it is at Christmas a couple years ago. Next to the conservatory is an enabling garden designed so that people of all abilities can enjoy a garden. There's also a beautiful rose garden, a favorite site for weddings and special occasion photo ops. One of the outstanding features of Vanderveer is the Grand Allée, which runs the length of the park from Central Park to Main Street. Vanderveer had fallen on hard times in the 60s and 70s, and most of the original plans created by Olaf Benson in 1890 had been lost. Thanks to the hard work of Friends of Vanderveer and the City of Davenport, most of those gardens have been restored, including this tree-lined walkway, which was reestablished in 2001. It is now beautifully shaded with park benches and flower beds, a perfect place for some social distance visiting. At the top of the Grand Allée, near Main Street, there are more flower beds planted in the Victorian style and a large stone fountain, which was restored in recent years and provides a beautiful and dramatic display, including a light show in the evenings during the summer. Our next stop for local gardens is the Quad City Botanical Center in Rock Island. The Botanical Center has several interesting outdoor areas and a really fun children's garden. But my favorite part is the conservatory, with its collection of impressive tropical plants, many of which are giant versions of your own houseplants. The Botanical Center is open again, but please call ahead for hours and restrictions, if any. For a native landscape experience, visit the Nahant Marsh, which is located just off Highway 22 near the I-280 bridge. As a wetland, Nahant is important to the ecosystem of the Mississippi River and the surrounding area. It's a great place to observe birds, wildlife, and native plants. Due to COVID, the education center is closed, but the walking trails are open and are well worth visiting. Traveling a little further away, but still within easy driving distance, is Oldbrook Botanical Garden in Madison, Wisconsin. This award-winning public garden is beautiful any time of year and is completely free. Divided into multiple interconnected gardens, there is a wealth of ideas for your own garden. Plant combinations, landscape design, use of color and structures, integrating perennials and shrubs. It also boasts an authentic Thai pavilion, handcrafted by artisans from Thailand. It's also just wonderful to wander through, discovering new seating areas and views around each turn. Oldbrook has reopened, but with reduced hours and some restrictions, so be sure to call ahead before you visit. Next on our list of gardens to visit is Lurie Gardens at Millennium Park in Chicago, Located near the Art Institute and the Bean in downtown Chicago, this garden combines naturalist plantings with eco-friendly maintenance practices in an urban setting. Due to COVID-19, the garden has closed some of its walkways. Plus, travelers from Iowa to Chicago are required to quarantine for 2 weeks, so maybe put this on your when we can travel again list. It's worth the wait. Many historic sites have lovely, authentic gardens. This is Williamsburg, Virginia, restored to its pre-Revolutionary War heyday with a charming kitchen garden. Another garden to visit when travel is more practical is the High Line in New York City. This garden has been planted on an abandoned elevated train track. You can still see some of the train tracks. Beautifully designed with natural plantings by Piet Oudoof, who also helped design the Lurie Garden in Chicago, the High Line has become a beloved attraction for both New York natives and visitors alike. Europe is home to hundreds of gardens, and if you go, you will see flowers and gardens everywhere. This is Kukenhof, which is located just outside of Amsterdam. Set in the midst of the bulb farming country, it is a garden that celebrates the glories of spring. Thousands and thousands of tulips, daffodils, hyacinths, and many others bloom in breathtaking mass displays. Kukenhof is only open from mid-March to mid-May, so plan accordingly. Here's an insider tip. You can rent a bicycle from a shop located in the parking lot. You'll get a map that will show you where the best fields are that are in full bloom, and soon you'll be floating along on quiet country roads amongst these magical fields. Paris is a flower lover's dream, with flower shops at nearly every corner and many gardens, large and small. This is the Rodin Museum and Gardens. This is the Quai Branly Museum with its modern garden surrounding it. You will find parks and small gardens tucked into many places throughout the city. This is the Promenade Plantee, a precursor to the High Line in New York City. This is also an elevated railway that was abandoned and has been turned into a lush and beautiful garden. Perhaps the most beloved location for both garden lovers and art lovers is Giverny, Monet's gardens and home just outside of Paris. Monet planted this garden with lots of color specifically for him to paint. The grounds are also the site of Monet's famous lily pond and Japanese bridge, which were the subject of some of his most famous and last paintings. England is probably number one on anyone's garden travel list, with its many gardens and parks. This is St. James Park in London, one of many in the city, and this is Kew Gardens just outside of London. This is the Victoria Conservatory, which was built during Queen Victoria's reign. And this is the Diana Conservatory. There are many beautiful areas in this garden. It's a huge place, lots to explore. True to their love of gardening, there is a National Garden Museum in London. It's a church that has been converted into a museum and traces the history of gardening in England. Here's a fun fact. Captain Bligh of Mutiny on the Bounty is buried here. That is, of course, just a tiny sampling of gardens to visit. There are hundreds, large and small, all around the world, all of which can educate and inspire. I recommend that you seek them out no matter where you are or where you travel. Continuing with our theme of travel and gardens, I've got 2 books here to recommend. The first one is called The Art of Gardening. It's from the staff of Chanticleer Gardens in Pennsylvania. Chanticleer is one of the most famous public gardens in America, It used to be an estate, and it has been converted into a garden now that's open to visitors from spring through fall. It's very high on my list of places to visit. It is a series of interconnected rooms, outdoor rooms, for garden rooms, and it's planted in what you might call the modern style. Use of sculpture, different techniques, different ways of displaying plants. This book is wonderful. It shows you the garden in all the interesting and different combinations they've put together. It shows you the garden in different seasons, how they chose plants, how they've designed different areas, and how they care for it. It's a beautiful book about a beautiful garden. Can't wait to see it someday. The second book is called Gardens of the High Line. It's written by Piet Oudoof and Rick Dark. This is about the High Line in New York City, of course, where they've taken an old elevated railway and converted it into a garden. So you can see, originally it was just a abandoned railway, not much to it. And now it's been converted into this wonderful, wonderful elevated garden, visited by thousands of people every year. You can see how they've incorporated the original train tracks and different features that were still present into the garden itself. So you kind of get a sense of the history of the place, its past, but also it's very modern garden too. Built for people to use. It's very popular. As you can see, it's very beautiful. This book shows it in different times of the year, different seasons, and shows you some of the different features that they have for visitors. And also the fact that you're elevated, you get some really beautiful, unique views of the surrounding skyline and the surrounding city. It's really a fun place to visit, and this book will give you a good taste of what it might be like to visit. So I'll have information about both of these books in the notes below. Be sure to get your reserves in. I think you'll really enjoy both of them. That's all for today. Thanks for watching.